Hello and welcome to Blythe Business News. Today I'm joined by Graham Clarke, who is Chief Executive of Emmerson. Emmerson listed on the AIM market with a symbol of EML and a market capitalisation of around £19 million sterling. Emmerson is developing a potash project, vital for fertilisers and feeding the planet, a potash project in Morocco. Graham, welcome back on the programme. You've just announced a new process for the potash project. We're calling it the Chemiset multi-mineral process, or KMP for short. Can you give us a quick overview on how the KMP is a step forward in sustainable mining?
Yes, it'd be a pleasure to do that, Tim. Just before I go into a little bit of detail on that, I would just like to sort of reiterate it's a sort of transformational process that we've come up with, and it's an outstanding piece of work, I believe. I'm very proud to have been able to develop it along with the team who have done a fantastic job on it. So we continue to try and optimize and reduce the environmental footprint of the project, and that's really what drove this. But what it does is it actually reduces the production of waste brines that previously we were going to inject into underground cavities. So we've actually removed the need for deep well injection with this process, and we actually turn the waste brines into products, slow release fertilizer products, which, given their slow release, also have the added advantage of minimizing runoff into watercourses, and also ultimately reduce the amount of fertilizer required to grow the same amount of crops. And also, with water, a very sensitive subject, most definitely in Morocco, we've actually reduced the overall water requirement by 50% for the project. So, from a sustainability point of view, we're sort of driving all the time to try and to improve and make this project something that can be delivered to the highest standards.
I want to come back to those environmental points in a moment, Graham. But first of all, let's just look at the finances, because it's got significant financial implications for Emmerson, for its shareholders. It shows a substantial increase in the project's net present value and on the internal rate of return. And one analyst this morning writing about it said it's going to complete boost to the project. So how does the KMP innovation impact Emmerson's financial performance going forwards?
Well, effectively, what we've done is instead of producing waste products and that costing us money to actually dispose of them, we've actually monetized the waste products. We've turned them into fertilizer products that we can sell, will have a value, will generate a margin. And what that has done has resulted in the MPV, as compared to the original project, with the costs inflated to reflect increased equipment costs. It takes the MPV from $1 billion up to $2.2 billion, and the internal rate of return from 26 up to 40%. So it makes a significant impact, obviously, on the economics. But also, even though we've modified the process and made some changes to the process equipment needed, we actually reduced the capex as well by $14 million, because we no longer need the cost of the deep well injection.
Can you you mentioned there the fertilizers. Tell us a bit more about them. I'm on thin ice here. I think one of them is struvite and the other one is vivirinite. I'm sure you get that right. I can't. And also some of the byproducts which are coming out of the process.
Okay, so the two new main products are struvite and vivianite, as you say. The struvite being a phosphate-based product with magnesium. This is currently in the market, produced and sold for between $800 and $1,300 a ton. In our evaluation, we've been very, very conservative and put in a price of only $500. So there is clearly a lot of room there to increase that. It is slow release, which I said, which does generate a premium, and it's also a multi-nutrient fertilizer, which usually generates a premium as well. So we've been very conservative in the pricing of that. Vivianite is not as commonly used as a fertilizer, so we've assumed there just the value of the nutrients, which is around $299 a ton, but believe that we'll be able to market both of those, and we're currently working on offtake agreements for both those products. Byproducts, obviously we're still producing the same amount of potash as before, just in case there's any confusion there. So still around 750,000 tons of potash, assuming a long-term price of just over $400 a ton. We also produce salt, and previously we've talked about selling some of the salt for de-icing purposes. We've also been looking at the potential for upgrading the salt to industrial grade, which has a much larger, more stable market and a higher value. So that's something that we're continuing to look at going forwards. And also ammonium chloride is a byproduct of the new process, which can be sold as a fertilizer, although we are looking at ways that we could recycle that in the process, which would actually further improve efficiency. So that's sort of ongoing work as well with regard to that.
Are there going to be opportunities with this, with the multi-mineral process, to do even more at Chemisett? And actually, what might the next steps be?
Well, I think we've commented previously that we will need to update our feasibility study because that's now over 3 years old. So as part of that, we will be able to integrate the KMP. We are looking at further optimizations on the process. Test work is ongoing. That said, we've done sufficient test work to be confident enough to announce this today. So we know it'll work, but there is further test work to do, which may allow us to optimize, as I've just mentioned, in light of the ammonium chloride, amongst other things. Also revise the mine plan because of the new process, we will be less sensitive to cut-off grades and mining heights, and there are opportunities there to increase the resource potentially. Working on the offtake agreements, that's obviously one of the key next steps to demonstrate that there's a market for these products, but we're very confident that we'll be able to do that. So quite a lot to do going forwards, but as I've said, we've done sufficient on this. It is a new process. It is patent protected because we've applied for a patent because it's unique. But we'll continue to optimize as we go forward to make sure that we take the full potential of it for the project.
I mean, finally, Graham, regular followers of Emmerson will know that one of the big issues that you've got to handle is the granting of the environmental approval permit from the Moroccan government. So two questions, really. Where are we with the environmental approval process? And secondly, does this new multi-mineral process do anything to help the environmental issues in Morocco, the people of Morocco, the local community?
Well, with regard to where we are with the approval, last July we announced that this had been referred to the National Committee for recourse, which is chaired by the Prime Minister, Prime Minister Akanouche. We're still awaiting feedback from them on where they are with that, and as soon as we have anything, we'll update. In the meantime, we've obviously been making sure that we continue to push and make sure that it's on their agenda and they understand the importance and the benefits of the project. So we continue to do that. We have to acknowledge that since we referred the project to that committee, there have been events in Morocco that have obviously taken their attention away, such as the earthquake. It's a catastrophic event. So as I say, we're awaiting feedback, and as soon as we have anything, we will obviously share that. Water is a huge sensitivity in Morocco. They've had now in the 3rd or 4th year of drought, so water is very sensitive, and obviously any new project that consumes water will attract a high level of scrutiny. So given the KMP actually reduces the water requirement, and by removing the deep well injection removes any risk of contamination of water courses, then we believe that taken into account is a positive, obviously. And from the sort of perspective of the local area, the region, and Morocco as a whole, for us to be able to reduce water consumption, remove the disposal of waste brines, is a very, very significant improvement to the project.
Well, Graham, thank you for joining us today and updating us on that. That was Graham Clarke, Chief Executive of Emmerson, giving us a very good rundown on this new multi-mineral process at the Chemisett potash project, which is going to enhance the profitability, the value of the project, as well as being environmentally a positive step in the right direction. That's it for this edition of Blythe Business News. Thanks for watching. you.